All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Edges podcast. Got Cory Gregory back on. The full box of juice does not fail this time as well. And we're talking about his new book, How to Build Confidence and Win at Life. Boom, it's out today, May 1st. It's out today. We're releasing the podcast on a Sunday just for the book, and we go deep into the book. It's an awesome recipe for success. It tells his phenomenal story from, again, growing up below means poor, we'll call it, but and then evolving through the coal mine and making these decisions and stacking these habits and creating his confidence to be the success he is today. And in the podcast, we talk about that process, that it's not a short process. It's not a week of return. It's not a month. It's not a year. It's a 20-year process. It's a 10-year process. It's a lifestyle. And we deconstruct how to build confidence, how he built his confidence, and from the books, the experience, the mentors, and the role models, to now how he leads by example to control his environment and hold the standards in his life. And then also we talk about rock bottom, like where is the friction big enough in your life to start generating action, how to generate momentum and start to develop streaks, and then truly build confidence. And a really cool part of the podcast that I love is the way that we tangibilize confidence. And he does that by getting into the spotlight and feel and intuition in opportunities. When the opportunities do arise, do you have fear or are you prepared and confident? And that's a great way to start going through your life, and one, getting yourself into the spotlight, and then two, gauging like how ready are you for the spotlight. If so, or if not, go back and do more work. We talk a lot about intention, a lot about consciousness, a lot about deep work and time involved. So it's all nails, it's all juicy. He's obviously a phenomenal storyteller, but he goes and deconstructs deeply what made him successful, and then his compelling nature he has to share and help and pull along others, both in his tight circle and everybody that reads the book, listens to the podcast, etc. But hope you enjoy. Boom. Cory G, welcome back. Episode 1, now episode 28. Let's go.
Chasing Edges, let's go, motherfucker.
Dude, appreciate you hopping on again.
Dude, of course. I couldn't wait, man. I've really been digging deep in your episodes, man, since I was on the first one. And like, you've done a great job, Brian. Your evolution on the mic, the amount of great guests you've had. So you should be proud of yourself. It's a great show.
Dude, I appreciate that. It's been super fun. And to get into the network and to ask the questions is been powerful for me too. It's like selfishly I'm learning constantly. Yeah.
Well, I just know when I'm going to engage in a conversation with you, it's going to be real. You're going to learn stuff. You're going to teach me stuff, but also you're always digging for that like next thing. And I just know when I sign up for a conversation with Brian Peters, whether it's on a mic or not on a mic, that it's going to be quality. And so like everyone that knows you, whether you know it or not, knows that about you.
Yeah. And but like, that's the intention and the goal. And that's what I love about your book. And we're obviously everybody listening out there, we're going to talk a lot about his book that's coming out. We'll get it on camera.
Yeah.
How to Build Confidence and Win at Life by Cory Gregory. Super exciting. I read it in portions initially, then read it all the way through, and I have notes, and we'll pull from it on the podcast and all those kind of things. But the coolest thing is you wrote a book, and like obviously it's your second book. But I just think that's a massive accomplishment in and of itself.
For an illiterate guy like me, it's a huge accomplishment. Anyone that knows me thinks it's kind of funny because like my grammar is rough. Like I can't write real well, but I found a strategy to be able to write a book, which was dictation, editing, and it's still in my voice. So I'm like super proud of the content. And I'm unapologetic in the way that I talk about things or operate, and I think that that's what makes it so authentic. You know what I mean? So to me, like my family, my close family, including my wife, they think it's hilarious because they know how, like if you get emails from me, you're like, man, this guy, like, I don't know. But I'm real proud of how it turned out, man. It was a good accomplishment for me.
Yeah, I think it's powerful in and of itself because like we'll call your illiteracy an obstacle.
It's funny. Yeah. But it's real true. Like I struggled in school. Like even when I was reading out loud on the audiobook, like at first it was really strange and just like I was probably the most uncomfortable on the mic that I have been in forever. So weird for me. There was some real good growth stuff through this entire process.
Yeah, and like, but it's like what you'll read in the book and what I know from you and talking to you constantly is it's always going to be a process. And like as much as I'm just going to start pulling from the book because there's so much fire in there. because like that, you reading out loud on here, like that's the spotlight again. So you talk about in the book, like putting yourself under the spotlight, and it's from our first podcast, is keeping competition in your life, because competition's a spotlight.
Yep.
Someone wins, somebody loses, but regardless, you learn. So it's dynamite.
Yeah.
And so the spotlight now is, it's not just the weight room. It's not just the field. It's literacy.
Yeah.
But it's, or it's business, but like that's the discomfort that you got to pursue until, like, again, you can generate enough repetition.
Yes.
10,000 hours, however you want to call it. But now, like, you have confidence, and like now, like, I'm sure the audiobook's going to be dynamite. But that kind of thing, like the relevant things in this book, the timeless characteristics of success in this book I'm just a big fan. So,
thanks, Brian.
But yeah,
I tell you what, this is one thing I can really like rest at night. It's so authentic that I was emotional in the beginning of it, because it was so hard to reread things that were really difficult for me to go through. And then when I got through it, I was like, shit, like I barely can make it through it. But if you can't feel that, like, I couldn't redo it, because it would never be the same as it was the first time, even if like I messed up on something here. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm so proud that whether this is a New York Times bestseller or not, this is like a legacy piece I could never redo again, any more authentic than it is. So when I'm done, like the fact that I'm done with it, like I'm like, I gave everything I had from a standpoint of being the most vulnerable, real, the best story. Like, I know that it's going to impact people. So like when you do a project like that poured out, you're just like, yo, now we just see where the chips fall, because I'm still indie. I'm releasing it myself. You know, I'm calling all the favors like I did, you know, to try to get some exposure. But the reality is, like, there's some nuggets in there, 10-piece nuggets in there. And it's just like, and I know it's going to impact people, whether you're in the fitness or not. It's really not even about that. It's about, you know, some serious like life change, and me talking about the wins and the losses and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I never really was like scared to talk about stuff that either didn't work or did work, or how I used to be to how I am now. And I think like I'm trying to really like get people there for stuff, you know what I mean? And through this, they can read like, man, this isn't always sunshine and fucking rainbows. And even like the process, to your point, like I read the first chapter with my friends, the guys on the round table, and I'm just like, man, this is hard. And then when I had to send it to my mom, which we were joking around, but then my mom's picking up on stuff that when I was a kid, she didn't even know I realized. So it was like really healing for us too. There's so many things, Brian.
I mean, there's a lot of levels to it, and there's a lot to unpack right there, because I do think the book reads very authentic to yourself. Like it's like, again, it doesn't like, I'm like, it's not a knock. Like it doesn't read like a normal, like I'm in this, like I always live in this, like the self-help or the science or like some type of edge I'm reading about. There is a flow to it. There's storytelling to it. Like it's sometimes it like re-emphasizes points, and like it does hit though. And then to your point, the authenticity that does show is representative where you are right now.
Yes.
You talk about the past, you talk about how the structure fuels the future. And I like the point where you said you couldn't write this book again in the same light, because there's distance between when you wrote it and now. So like, of course the book would be different. I always like the thing, like no man can enter the same river, whatever, because he's not the same man. That's not the same river. Yeah. And like, that's a powerful concept, because you always got to understand that there's space and there's change and there's adaptation happening. So I just like where that shows up is the awareness in the book. And the awareness in the feel, because a lot of the book and a lot of your story comes from you felt X, so you did Y kind of deal. So like you became frustrated, you fueled yourself with rage to change, because like the hatred or the rock bottom had become intolerable. And that there's a bunch of questions that I have there, is like, what was that tipping point and what did you do? And like, I know there's different instances in your story where like that does happen, but like when you get into that mindset where you are frustrated with where you're at, where the friction is constant, or the friction has enough momentum to it where it requires change, like how do you get over that point? Because I think a lot of people walk around, myself included, whether it's with like I'm trying to learn something and there's not enough friction that I'd have to learn it yet, or those kind of things. Like how do you turn that friction into action?
Yeah, I think that, man, if I really think back I think at some point, and then you have to make a choice, right? At some point, you're just so fed up that it's either you have to give up or give in, I guess is a better word, or you have to change. And there were several times in my life where it was a really distinct why. Not my why for what I do, and I'll go into that, but more like the road. It was wide. And I really could see myself like, all right, I see the path of a lot of other people very clearly right in front of me. And it's like they kept choosing the same thing. And I was like, even though this road is going to be really difficult, and I know if I'm the one shielding it, like I'm taking it on saying shit is going to be different with what I can accomplish in this life. I knew that was like a tall task, bro. And I knew it was going to take pretty much my whole entire life, which, 20 deep plus right now, it's what it's taken to get it to where it's at. And it's like, I don't know. There was something about that excited me because I knew I was going to go in uncharted territory, and I knew I was signing up for a life that wasn't going to be like everything I saw. And you got to remember, like, I already saw how this played out so many other times. And I was like, I already know I already know with what I'm watching happen, what that yields. And I don't fucking want that. So at the end of the day, I think when I got done coal mining, and saved my money to move to Columbus, that was my fallback. Meaning I already went through the third hardest job in the world. I already could live that lifestyle. It was very natural for me because that's my whole family did it. So if personal training, which was my entry point to fitness, didn't work, I was just going to go back and do that. So it wasn't scary to me. When I opened the first gym at 20 for $5,000, if I lost it all, I was literally going to go back and work 80 hours a week, pay my lease, and just do what I could have chose the first time around. So I think there was like not all of these like scary thoughts to me because I had already went through what my baseline was going to stay at if I never tried anything. So I always ran it against that. If this doesn't work, I can always go back and I knew they would take me because I was good at it. Like I knew they liked my work capacity. You see my work capacity in here, like it was no different there. So it's like I could have been a guy on a crew and been a main contributor at that coal mine, 1,000,000%. So to me, that was always my backdrop. So when people say the fallback plan, well, the fallback plan was everyone else's plan. That's no shade. It just wasn't my plan. You know what I mean? But I could do it, and I meshed, and it was very natural for me. But I was like, but why not? I'm telling you, the why not me question has raised up in my brain so many times when I would run into those whys where it'd be easy to pick comfort, or I could, like, you guys got to remember, 1998, there's no internet. I don't know one personal trainer. I don't know one person that has the job that I want. So it felt really lonely trying to figure out, like, what do I fucking do? There's no one telling me what to do. I can't Google it. I don't know. No one's advising me. So it felt extremely lonely. So then, and it's so abstract compared to what I was used to but that made it exciting. And then I took it on as like a chip on my shoulder because no one was really telling me I couldn't do it. But no one was really telling me I could either. Yeah. So I wasn't really like where a family was like, you have to go to 4-year college. You have to do this. They were just like, well, shit, no, like, good luck. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we'll support you. My mom was there helping paint the walls of the first gym. Rachel was there helping me paint the walls. Like, everyone was supporting of me trying these things, but I was in some new areas, man. So it was a lonely, disciplined, crazy time to just even get in the entry part of this. And so, like, but I'm telling you, the road was way, way hard to travel this way, but I just kept asking myself, like, why can't this shit happen to me? Why do I have to just be okay with what I've seen the norm be for the last 3-4 generations? And I don't know, there's something in my mind that just wouldn't let me give into that. And like I said, like it just, I don't know. I made these fictitious things in my head when I was like 15. And the first breaking point, other than my dad being on strike and us not being kicked out of places, not being able to pay our bills, was like I saw my mom's W-2 when I was 15. She's a waitress. That changed everything. I'm like, how are we living on this? And I remember thinking, I'm going to make this in a month. But I didn't even know how that was even going to happen, Brian. But I just remember thinking, like, I'm capable of this. But once again, like, I don't know if it was like, swag from sports, which I don't even know. I average about 2 a game. So I don't know. But like, I had something that was telling me that I was meant to do great things. I told myself that all the time. Like, this ain't me. This ain't me. This ain't my situation. This ain't what I'm about. This isn't my life. This is the life that I was born into, but this ain't me. And I don't know where that entry point came from other than being just fed up about it. Yeah. So it was a weird thing, because when I would start to say that stuff out loud to people, they were having a hard time grasping what I was really talking about. I sounded fucking crazy.
Yeah, but like that is a self-awareness thing.
Yeah.
Like, you understand you're not where you want to be. I think a lot of people feel that. The biggest thing that I took from this book is the power of asking questions. So if you read the book, available on Amazon.
Available on Amazon May 1st.
May 1st, which is today. I'm going to release it on May 1st. Anyway.
Hell yeah. So. How to Build Confidence and Win at Life. Buy it, get it, review it. Okay, continue.
But so there's questions in every chapter. And so what I got when I read the book all the way through is I spent time with the questions and the power of questions. Like, so I referenced this on the last podcast with Dustin. I was listening to Gabby Reese's podcast that I sent you with Quick, and everybody has these eternal questions, and really the brain in and of itself it's either a deletion machine, like it's gonna take in millions of pieces of information and keep what basically keeps you safe for like primal defense, self-preservation, or it's going to keep the information that you ask questions about. And I just really like that perspective, because I think questions and conversation to build relationships to, again, there's a bunch of things in here about constant education and commitment, those kind of things. And that all comes from questions. But like the question that keeps showing up is like, why not me? Or
I still ask myself that all the time, Brian.
Yeah. So like, so do you think that's one of your defining questions?
Huge, because I think you're smashing the limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to think like that can't happen to me.
Yeah. So what do you like? So when you hear somebody say like, or like the quitting mindset and those kind of things, like what, like, or I can't wake up this early.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. But like, that's like,
I flip it on them instantly, because my brain only works the other way, because I've basically just like brainwashed it that way. Right. Even if the little doubt, little bitch hoe creeps in, I flip it to the glass half full, not half empty. It's just a better way to live this life.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. So to me, if somebody brings that to me, they're unaware that that's how they are usually. And that might just be the way they operate.
It's a narrative. Yeah.
It's a narrative. So I try to show them the other way. And then initially it makes them real, kind of like standoffish, but I never like hit them in the face. Like, you got to I'm just like, well, what about this? What if it does work? And I always say, I'm not putting my head in the sand. I'm a realist. Yeah. I take calculated risk, but I address the downside first. And then if I move on the upside, I never really think about the downside again. I only think about how to win.
Yeah.
So like, that's why I love winning franchises. It's a winning mentality. I've taken my life that way. If I'm engaging in something, I expect this to do what I think it can do, because I know what I put into it. Now, where that falls, that's just what it is. But the reality is, like, I never go into anything thinking to be second place, So it's like, I think that's part of, like, you get some small wins under your belt and you start to build momentum. And then through the processes, you build confidence, which is the reality. When I think about all of these things that have happened to me, it's because when I went into key situations, I was a confident person. Not a fake confident person, a real confident person, because I put the reps in, Brian. Like, I put the reps in on this mic. That's why I know I can be on any stage. I put the reps in the gym. That's why I can be on any stage. Like, I put the reps in business-wise, which is why I could sit with Arnold. I put the reps in, so I was there in those moments being the most confident Cory Gregory that could be displayed in that moment, because I put the fucking time in. And so I think that people need to consciously, be consistent, No, you're being consistent intentionally so you can be a more confident version of yourself, so you can fucking win. Like, I'm a 90% cat. I'm winning 9 out of 10 if you give me an opportunity, because if I've prepared for it, I'll bet on me any fucking day of the week if I'm prepared for it. So you got to look like, how are you preparing for your life and for these opportunities that you hope or dream about? Are you intentionally doing things every day to get better and to get a chance to maybe be great? A chance. It's not guaranteed. So like, all the personal development, all the alarm clock, not hitting snooze, being here, training, competing, goods, bads, whatever. I'm doing those things so when that moment comes, And it's came multiple times in my life that I'm going to fucking blaze it because it's just me.
Yeah.
I don't have to act like anybody else.
Yeah, it's like opportunity is going to find everybody, but it needs to find you prepared, confident, and it needs to find you working.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's where, so to step back from the spotlight opportunity stage, like so the grind, the consistency, like those kind of concepts, what's a good way to ask it? Because like, yeah, that part's like the understanding the opportunity is pretty easy and everybody wants it to fall in their lap. But like a big part of this, we'll call it the unflashy side of success, the unflashy side of being prepared for the opportunity is pretty boring and monotonous, or
for sure
a struggle bus and those kind of things. But like the big thing in the book that I love it anyways, because anybody that treats themselves like an experiment or uses trial and error, I think is really powerful, because this stage and opportunity we're talking about, this is what I was trying to get to, is a test of confidence.
Sure.
So you, in the book, you reference that like basically like if like it's a tangible way to measure confidence, and is how I read it, where like if you're getting ready to go on stage, if you're getting ready for an opportunity, or you're in the opportunity, you're in the interview, or what it ends up being, and you have fear present, like you're not, that's a metric for not being confident. Yeah. So like that's why like the trial and error phase and this grind phase, whether it's the squat every day or the business education or reading books or understanding that reading is important. Like it takes a while for people to even like to read. So like I like the idea that like read what you love until you love to read. And then now you can do all the education stuff. So if you want to read Starbucks or like dominatrix rom-com stuff, like, you know, it's just like, like read that and then become really good at this. But I guess the question is like, in your trial and error phase, like the feelings of fear, like how do you address those early on?
I think that, well, first off, I'm not afraid for it not to work. I think that's part of it, because there's things in my life that haven't worked, but when they didn't work, Brian, that's what sparked a next level in my career. Squat Every Day is a great example. If I go to the meet alongside Westside and squat 700 at 181 that day, I don't go home and type in what happens if I fucking squat every day. That changed my entire career, by the way, because that separated me from every other fitness dude with abs. Because I wasn't the best squatter, but I was fucking squatting all the time and I was documenting it. And people knew I was different, and they knew I had like a different, like I was wired different, right? It separated me from everybody. I went there and embarrassed myself. It was, dude, 3 times Louis calling me on squats and I couldn't get up. I bombed out. I couldn't even make my opening squat. It was unbelievable. So if I don't go from that, to me, what felt like an epic failure, I don't go then through that process, and I'm not this guy. I don't have 100 million more page views on bodybuilding.com. All different segments of people started to know who I was. Didn't matter whether you were a power lifter, an Olympic lifter, a CrossFitter. Like it got me across all like areas of fitness. It changed my entire career. So when I realized that, and I've had multiple other things like that, when I see things, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it everything. And whatever result that is, there's a way to spin that for the positive. And so I think I even go into things now understanding that even in a different way. Same with, you know, whether I have business stuff that happens, I look at it the exact same way. Like, all right, well, that was the result of that. Now, how do I take that piece and then, you know, go to another level? It just continued to work. So I think I don't really get caught up on that it didn't work so much. I go then, how do I stand back up and respond from this? And that was one thing I took from Arnold. He was like, look, I've had a bunch of business shit not work. You might just not know about it.
Yeah.
But it's all how I got up the next day and how I responded to it. And he told me, like, are you a one-time fitness guy, or is this what you do? Like, are you going to stand back up from what you thought was parts of failure from the MP situation and then build something great, you know, this time? Like, it's just like, it's all about how you respond. So don't get it twisted. I might have licked my chops and been woe is me for a second, but it don't last very long, right? I'll lick my wounds and then look at a new strategy, but that all comes back to reps and confidence, because I believe I'll find a solution because I've found a solution a lot of times. But that only comes with intention, development, and trial and error. The trial and error part is probably my favorite part, because the faster I get to the error or the success, I'm going to win and progress myself. So to me, that's like part of the process I was never really that scared of. And that's why like I take a lot of risk in my life, but they are super calculated. I run the negative and the positive, but to me, that's what makes this whole thing so interesting.
Yeah, and you have the experiments to lead to like better decision making for like those concepts too.
Yeah, I'm not really scared about that part. I think that's what makes this whole process, that especially the segment of like in my business, like I am a fucking science project. Sometimes some of the shit makes sense, sometimes it doesn't, but then I can see the result in the gym and in the mirror, the way I feel, the way I operate. And my blood work, I've been a constant experiment this entire time. It just now, I think it's just highlighted more, especially with my age and the things I'm able to do still. People are taking a lot of notice of it.
Yeah, no doubt. And like the commitment's unmissable. And it's
non-negotiable.
Yeah. Ooh, go.
And here's the thing is, I said this the other day on social media, my decision to go to the gym, my decision to lunge every day, 800 meters or the 27 minutes like we talked about, it's not emotional. There's no emotional part of that. I don't wake up on Monday and go, should I go or shouldn't I go? Should I hit the snooze or should? It's not emotional. So to me, it's just what I do. And so I think when people can commit like that, now look, it's my job. So I always say that. Like, do I expect somebody that's a lawyer to do the same commitment? I bet they'd be better if they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just like everybody should have things like this in their life that isn't a negotiable thing. Like there's certain things that have to be done in my day for me to be a successful person. Personal development's one of them. Lunging's one of them. Lifting's one of them. If I do those things and I read, I write, or I record, those things happen too. All my shit makes sense.
Yeah, but it's again, you've learned that recipe.
Correct.
And there's extremely simple logic in the recipe.
But why is it so hard?
No, I know. But, well, it's the narrative again. Yeah. Because it's the narrative to like make the time to read, lift, learn, whatever it ends up being. But like if you again like ask questions like, why is this important? Mm-hmm. Like, what's this gonna do for me? Like in the book you talk about, obviously like the body needs to be healthy for the mind to like lead work and do all these commitments and decision making at high levels too. Sure. So and I push this as well, where like everybody should have the priority of being healthy.
No question.
And nobody realizes that until they're unhealthy or they're sick or they're dying or any of those things. That like now the whole Irish bit is that like somebody that's dying wants one thing, the person that's super healthy wants all the things. Yeah. And then now you can refine the commitment and the decision making after that. But like that shows you how important health is. So like have a massive health habit.
I'm glad. Honestly, I'm glad I'm obsessed about that.
Yeah. And
because that right there is like a leader. And I learned it from watching Arnold before I knew him. Like he just applied all the disciplines that he did in bodybuilding to the rest of his life. That's really what he did. That's what he's been teaching indirectly all of these years through all of his teachings. Whether it's in his first few books, The Education of a Bodybuilder is one of my favorite books. And you think it's about bodybuilding, it's really about mindset. He was just applying all of those same things. I picked up on that real early. I'm like, if I can be disciplined enough to eat this way, train this way, why couldn't I win in these other areas? Yeah. Because I realized the rest of the world wasn't doing it.
Yeah, they're all separators. And like I think like old problems have old solutions. Like there's 12 disciplines in life. Like there's 12 principles of success. Like you can try and chop it up and find all the micro deals, but it's like, again, it's consistency, time involved, mastery, like very simple qualities. But like I think everybody has their own personal take on them, personal way to articulate it, and then personal way to motivate themselves and make all these decisions. But what I got from like that point with the point of you talking about like what you've learned from Arnold, what you took from other people, is that like that's part of the experiment phase, is like again, find the breadcrumbs of success from other people. Yep. Like there's people who like are creating this tension in you because like you see somebody that's ahead of you or has a shinier car or X, Y, and Z. So like there's somebody that's already done the path, and you saw that really young. For sure. Because you saw it with the kids, the gym you went to, and then you saw like
the neighbor down the street. That part of the book I think was something that my mom also didn't realize as much, as that, I lived on the front of the road in this 1970s rough ass trailer. Well, like about a mile down the street on the same country road, my friend Josh Dorsey, who's a chiropractor who lives here in Columbus, actually, his parents live there. And, you know, even when I go back to that, it's not some crazy baller house, but comparatively at that time, but they ran their own business. So I saw them have more freedom. They never missed his games. They were free-flowing kind of with work. And, yeah, they did work some crazy hours, but then they'd be home at weird times. And, like, I just realized, and they always had the nice stuff. They had the pool. They had the gaming system. He always had the dope shoes. Like, it was like there was a different way of operation happening. I could ride my bike to see it. They were unaware I was even watching it.
Yeah.
I'm aware that there's kids now probably watching me the same way, right? I can see it like when people were at my crib or they, you know, they're paying attention locally, like that they see how I see the same shit happening. And it's like one of those things like I saw and thanked them when I got older because they were actually at the Arnold one time. They come by the booth and said something to me. And they was like, we had no clue that you were, I was like, you guys were just living your lives. I was just trying to find a better life. And it was like one of those things where I just realized the stark difference of like, my mom was just trying to survive, dude. When you're trying to survive, you ain't really worried about building wealth. You're just trying to survive. And then when I watched that and I'm like, gosh, like there is such a different life out here. I didn't even think about the things that happened to me. I didn't even think that was even possible. But I was like, I like that operation, not just because of the money, but the freedom.
Yeah.
My dad only could come to one basketball game a year because he was always at work. My mom, like the same type of thing. She made it to most things, but like that, I just remember that was like a big deal to me because I'm thinking like, you only get to do high school sports one time, right? Imagine if your dad could only come to one game all year, freshman, like, and he loved basketball. We didn't like a lot of the same things, but we both love that. And so it was like one of those things, like even the thing that we enjoyed together, he could barely take part in because someone else had his fucking balls basically.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I ain't doing it. So I just picked these things. It was almost like I had a list, Brian, like, you know, not legitimately wrote it down, but in my head, I was like, not doing that, not willing to do this, not willing to do that. And I'm still like that. Things like that approach on how I operate. I'm just not signing up for that. And so I'm willing to do and take the risk and put the time in so I never am held like that. And then when there's been parts of my life where I feel like I am, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'll make the change. I'll raise the capital. I'll do the shit, whatever it is, to not be feeling that way. And I think that comes from a real young age of just understanding what I don't want. Everyone knows what they don't want. Yeah. It's just, what are they willing to be consistent enough and develop themselves to get a chance to try to change it? And that's where I was willing to sign up for that lunchbox mentality that my stepdad, Randy Thompson, said to me one day. He's like, he was talking about a fight actually, but he referenced like, you better pack a lunch because he knew he wasn't going to run out of gas. That's why my lunch pail sits over there still from the coal mine, because to me, it was like, if I'm packing a lunch and I know I'm willing to spend the time and the effort and the consistency to find a solution, then you better be willing to do that if you're going to fucking beat me. And I know that there's no, like, I'm competing against myself. Metaphorically, it's the world, and that's how I kind of shield it. But the reality is it's against me. And I'm tricking myself to say, like, that I'm willing to just keep laying it on the line for a more consistent level, potentially, than my competition. And if you want to take my spot, just like in the league, you want this fucking spot, you better dig in.
Yeah, but you're establishing standards, and like you kind of have this natural process of, all right, I'm aware of what I'm feeling, what I don't want. So now the standards of what I don't want are X, Y, and Z. So that's the rock bottom standard, and you always know you can go back. Like you can always fall to rock bottom
for sure.
Yeah,
I already know what it feels like.
Yeah,
like I always say, like, don't say never, never. Like, I never want to live in a trailer again.
Yeah.
That'll just be straight. Maybe if I got like a cool lake somewhere and I get a double wide just because I want to, you know, or like a tiny house.
Yeah.
But the reality is there was just certain like things that I just knew, like, this is just, you only get one chance at this thing, man.
Yeah.
You know, like, I only got one life. I'm not about to be on, I am not willing to have that regret on my deathbed. I'm telling you guys, I've heard some things from some older people. I've read about it. Like, I don't want to be the person there questioning why I didn't put it on the line. You know, some things worked out better than others. Some things didn't work out as good. But I can go down going, yo, I gave it a fucking shot.
Yeah.
I gave it a fucking shot. And so that right there is like, all of these things play in my mind when I'm up against hard situations.
Yeah. And that's another resounding point in the book is the power of going all in. and like
immersion.
full immersion. And like, that's the whole process too. Like that's trial and error. That's education. That's the development of the confidence, so that again, this all-in mentality is hopefully not only non-negotiable, but very successful.
It's the only way you're going to truly learn everything. Meaning, like, if you're into something, like when I was into powerlifting, I'm always into powerlifting, but when I first got into it, that's how I ended up weighing 240. I wasn't proud of the way I looked. I didn't even like the way I felt. But boy, I was immersed, and I just ended up that way.
Yeah.
Like, it just happened. Same thing with when I first met Serrano and Dr. Pasquale. Like, I went all in, read the book, did the diet, went back and forth with Eric, went back and forth with Pasquale. Hey, how about this? How about that? Like, I was in it. I wasn't cheating on a fucking Tuesday. I didn't care to go out with my friends on fucking Thursday. I was immersed with great people to learn. Same as I was with Louie and any of the West Side guys, Tony, George, all the guys that helped me. Same with Arnold. I would immerse myself to learn it at the highest degree, so then I could teach it, take the pieces from it, experience it, know what I do and don't like about it. That's how I came up with all my own protocols from the breadcrumbs of the immersion. People don't go all in enough, bro. It just, how can you get a true feel if you don't really fucking live it? I live it and can tell you from example or from trial and error, because I went through it. I know when you ask me a diet question, I already tried that. So I know how to explain it. I know how to revert it back to you. Like, I know that this many grams of this and this many grams of that is for me. And then, then we hear the community that has tried the similar things, but it's because I've already went through it. So the practitioner shit to me is like a huge like deal. Because if you ain't living it, you ain't really about it. Don't fucking tweet me about it. Actually fucking be about it. And when you're about it, I can feel if you're about it.
Yeah.
And then so that's a big thing for me. It always has been. And that immersion understanding, because I have obsessive qualities for sure, obviously. It's like, all right, let me go in for a period of time here. And then I'm gonna pull something out of that, and then let me go over here and let me go over there. And I also think that makes life interesting too.
Yeah. And like, I almost like have a little dance with myself on it, because like, I think the curiosity takes away from my commitment.
Gotcha.
So like that, yeah, because like I start going like, I'll dabble in this book or I'll dabble in this activity. And then like, now I get spread thin, or
do you lock it down for 90, 120 and go, fuck all that other stuff. I'm in this. I'm going to learn everything.
Yeah, and I think it's super powerful, just because like, you do need to, like, and I talk about this with Nate and I read books on it, where like, you have to go far enough down a path to know if it's for you or not.
Facts.
And so like, that's where like, me personally, where I'm like challenging my commitment, is I need to like set a structure where like 120 days of this.
Yes.
And it's not,
you'll love that, Brian.
Yeah, it's not like 5 days of this, 5 days of this, because like, I'm really good at that, because like, I'm really good at like getting the information I want, and then okay next, and then so like, that's something I'm working on personally, which is why the book hit with me when I read it all the way through too, because like, I was applying it to the concepts of the depth that I'm going. So like, I think that's special. But like, another massive thing that I'm into and shows up in the book really well too, because you talk about it with you talked about it just now, where basically when you're committed and all in, like, everything's important. Like, you learned it from Arnold really young, where like, okay, diet's important, mindset's important, consistency is important, all those kind of things. And I posted out this day earlier today, but like, one of my favorite quotes right now is from Jordan Peterson. And I just finished up his 12 Principles book as well. But like, if you want a meaningful life, because that's what you're doing, is you're developing meaning. Yep. And your purpose is very strong, so your direction's strong. But if you want a meaningful life, everything's important. Absolutely everything. And I
think I operate that way.
Yeah. And like, and when we like, everything is like this level of consciousness, and like, in the book you call it intention, same concept. Yep. Where everything's intentional, whether it's like how you parent, like how you coach, how you lead by example, like all these things are intentional. And then me as like a breathwork coach, every breath should be intentional. And so like, how much can we pull into intention? How much can we pull into consciousness? I think it's really important. And so now, like, there's no more free floating. And so like, I've become more disciplined recently, because now I attach meaning to things. Yeah. Okay. Like meaning to like a routine, or meaning to like, how do I talk to my mother?
Yeah.
Like
I have
things
meaning
like that.
The stuff, the operation, why I'm like, I really have had, I don't know if I did this by design originally, but I would associate, like, if I want to get him that car, like not the one I drove today, but the one I normally drive every day, then I have a certain level of operation that brand requires. That isn't something that they write in the handbook. That's just something I think about. If I want a Rolls Royce mentality, then I need to operate with a fucking Rolls Royce level. Like, I can't be giving you a fucking low end level, and then because one time I achieved this, that's not a one-time thing. That's a lifelong operation. So, like, I was telling this coach, Hayden came yesterday and brought me something, and they were like, he was like, yo, the guy, he had a couple assistant coaches with him, like, they love the car, whatever. I said, I want you guys to understand, like, the reason why I wanted that car. So I was so upset about the cars I had when I was a kid. I was telling some stories about how all my door handles were broken except for the fucking back rear passenger. And I would go to get gas and I would hope that it wouldn't like, I would try to lay the door against the latch so it wouldn't so I didn't have to climb through the back seat to get in. I was like, man, I was tired of that shit. But then once I achieved to buy a car like that, I realized it wasn't about a material item. It was about the way I operate and my expectation to operate continually like that. So when I get in it every day, I'm thinking, am I displaying how I got here? Is that continued? And if it's not, it's going to be taken away just as fast as it got there. So I use material items as continued reminders of how did you get here, G? And what do you have to continue to, how do you have to continue with intention to operate to have this type of level stay here? That's, once again, Brian, I think it's the standards like that are in my head. And that's why when I fall below, or people around me fall below at least the standard, I struggle real bad with it because I know it's only going to drag me with them. I don't think I'm better than anybody. I just know what I want for myself. And so if you're going to ride with me, there's a certain standard of expectation, and almost everybody we operate rides above that standard. And even if you fuck shit up, by the way, I fuck shit up all the time, I'm then at the line, right? But if you start operating below the line, I can't fucking do it. Because there's an expectation, like if you want to be successful, you want to operate the way that we move in business, like you have to have agility, you have to come up with solutions, you got to believe in yourself, you've got to be working on yourself, because that's how I'm riding. And that's my expectation. And that's how everybody, you've seen it since you've been around us, how everyone's gotten better.
Everybody's progressed.
Everybody's progressed.
Yeah. Under the bar and over the bar, whatever
That's
you want to call it.
That's all it is. You know, and so if I expect that out of myself every day as a leader, then everyone else should expect that out of themselves, right? We don't all get it right all the time. But you, once again, like the reps give you a better luck opportunity. I can feel it right now because of all the things that I'm trying to do. There's a lot of things that are new to me, this including like a major push on this. The other one, I kind of just released it within my subculture. And then on top of it, like the dual event that we got coming up, like it's things, there's some new categories that we're trying to push, and there's things coming my way. It's not by accident. I know it. You'll get some Nerf lob passes every now and again, but it's all because of all the work, man.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's been people kind of pounding some stuff on me in a good way. I got a lot going on, but I'm like, yep, that's what I've been waiting on.
Yep.
Yeah, we getting hot again, kid. So it's fun, but I know that there's laws and rules of how this world works. I've seen them happen to me so many times. That's why I'm so bullish now on wanting it for the people that I care about around me. It's already worked for me, Brian.
Yeah.
Now, to what level? That's to be determined. Can I be a guy that loves what I do every day? Yep. Can I change generations of my family history? Yeah, I already did. Now it's to what level does it go to? Is the financial IQ within my family on the top side and bottom side better? My son who's 11 understands stocks, and so does my mom now. Dude, it's happened. You know what I mean? Am I living in a trailer again? Hell no. Right? So it's like one of those things where now it's like, how many people can I motivate and touch? How can I help the people around me, which will also help me get what I want? And then this next generation, how can they continue on with intention, but with like that fire? And are they going to ever feel the same way I felt? It's probably impossible. But through these things, people don't realize I'm writing these things so my family can understand how did we get here? I have to remind them sometimes, but they don't know. But they will now. I could never sit down and tell my son this. But one day he'll read it with intention and go, oh, okay. And most of them, my kids are old enough, they're starting to get it. But it's like, how are you going to sit down and explain all that? It's virtually impossible. So when I'm writing things like this, I'm selfishly writing them for my own family, but I can touch everyone's family through it, I think. And I for my own healing too, which I didn't even anticipate as that being part of it, but it was part of it and is.
Yeah, that again, like questions throughout there constantly. But so my question is the lead by example. When did that become prevalent? Because because that leads to a great environment.
Yep.
Because we'll call you the captain of the environment because of lack of a better, all I know is sports terms. But at what point did you know that leading by example was going to set the standard?
I can't remember the exact example like when I was young, but I remember the whole thing of like, don't smoke cigarettes, but I smoke. Yeah. I thought that shit was whack. Oh, don't smoke cigarettes, but I'm smoking. The fuck is that? It's the same shit. How can I expect you? I think I came with my clients, right? Early on as a personal trainer. How could I ask you to do that workout if I can't do that workout?
Yeah.
I think it's like hypocritical to a certain point. Now, eventually you get to be an old coach and you can't do everything the young players do. Yeah. I know that's part of it. Yeah. But at that time, if you're still in it, you're an OG, so people already know you did it. But I think that other mentality just never made sense to me. So I thought in business, if I'm here at 9 putting it out and everyone knows I'm at the gym for this many hours and I'm doing this and I'm trying to progress myself, and that's just the norm. What I started to understand is that my norm was not norm, right? But then once I got the right amount of people that started to say, all right, this is what it takes. I'm going to adapt. And if I want to be on this team or I want to sign up for this life, this is what we signing up for. And then it took me a while to find the group I got now, and everybody's up on the same team and they've all signed up for the same thing. And I've told every fucking one of them, your life will never be the same and it'll never be dull. And we're only going to progress, and we're going to have some wins and we're going to have some losses, but we're signing up for something different here. Once again, if you're going to support me, I'm going to support you. And we can all kind of grow together, because I really realized, once again, it's not just about if it works for me anymore. I just know that my life's different forever. I still have a ton of things I want to do, but early in business phase, is it going to work? That's a huge part of it. Is it going to work? Well, I got to tell you, the first time Irene gave me $20 for my first client, said, hey, show me how to do bicep curls and booty lifts for an hour. It worked, Brian. That was the same amount I made as overtime in the coal mine. I made $21 an hour for my overtime at $20. That's all I needed to know. Once I knew it could work, I was on fire.
Yeah, now it's a matter of time and momentum.
And consistently and being involved in developing yourself. So, like, it's always looked different. That's what's so interesting about my life. Like, I wanted to lift weights and get paid and like something like what I do, but it's meant different things over these last 20 plus years. And that's what's been cool, because there's an entry point and there's an exit point at some point, right? Or maybe you just do it till whenever you die. But the entry point is not what my ultimate goal was. It was just my entry point. But to me, it was already successful because I didn't have anything to go up against. Yeah. So I think so many people nowadays have so much pressure on themselves to be me now. You're not going to be. Yeah. This is a 20-year fucking game. Could you speed it up a little bit because resources, the internet? Of course you could. I had to go through that first 10 to just get the craft. Yeah. Then when the internet showed up, I was like, put me in. I've been fucking working out here. No one knew me, but I had to try to be a great personal trainer just in my city first, just in my town, just on this side of town. Like, I just really focused on my craft and being good within like people in person first. And that really helped me, I think, once I had a chance to like get it out, you know?
Yeah. I mean, but that's the acceptance of what some people call it paying your dues, but like that's true mastery.
It is true mastery.
Yeah. And like, it's not rocket surgery in the concept, but it does take
time.
Yeah. A lot of time.
The immersion helps speed it up a little bit. I will tell you that. So like when I go into something and I go all in, I can speed up the process to a certain degree because that's all I think about. That's all I'm reading about. That's all I'm trying. How do you think I understand all these formulas and stuff like that we do at Max Effort? Like, it's because I've tested 9 different BCA formulas.
Yeah, it's compound interest.
Yeah, dude. Like and that's why I think the value's there is because I've already spent all that time understanding that. So that right there, I think that's why when people go, hey, Cory, they send me a message like, do you have some time to chat about, I'm thinking about getting into natural bodybuilding. No, I don't. You know why? Sign up for a fucking show. Go on the internet, Go do some trial and error, dig deep, immerse yourself. What did you find out? Then ask me a fucking pinpointed question. Don't come at me on that bullshit like that. I'm the most helpful guy you'll ever meet. But I got to see something from you first.
Yeah, it's a respect thing, and like it's
there you go.
Yeah, like it's same as like I talked about it with Dustin, where like the guys aren't gonna respect you unless you can you're doing the workout or like or you at least look capable.
Yeah, dude, like go get some first, like
Yeah, I love it when you go back and forth with some people on Twitter.
I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Well, because I think people want to hear that direct stuff. They're just asking for me to. That's how when I see the funny questions where I know it's like, man, you know the answer already.
Yeah, but it's like the exam we've talked about it in the gym before when you came correct to Louis Simmons.
Yep.
Like so obviously like you're going there with very pinpointed, educated, intelligent questions because you're not going to get 30 questions. You're not. Yeah, you're going to you probably won't even get a dumb question because then now you're cut.
Exactly.
So yeah, that kind of thing.
And if I don't squat 600, I can't even ask the question.
Yeah.
I mean, it just because Amy beat me. Like it was more like I was so thankful because I had no business being there. I wasn't even close to as strong as those guys. Basically a couple of the women were stronger than me. But
yeah,
then
he's referring to Westside
Barbell. But he saw how much I wanted to learn and how I was going to immerse myself. And he gave me a shot. Now I was able to get to where I squatted 700, 2011. I'm going to squat 700 again in a couple weeks. It's been fucking over a decade. But if I don't immerse myself in that time, I don't get that favor. I don't get it. If I was half in, I'm still doing bodybuilding. I said, no, I want to compete in multiply powerlifting and I want to fucking learn. I'll come here and get my ass kicked. I'll fucking get beat by 300 pounds. I was chirping at all the guys, anybody that would help me. Like they knew I maybe didn't look like them or could do what they did, but I fucking love it like that. And I've been spreading the sport in a sneaky amount for a really long time because of that. Him just taking that one meeting and me understanding. And then when I felt the environment, I knew exactly, because I've always been in these type of environments, but when I felt that, you walk in the door and you have to give max effort, right? You walk in the door, you can feel the temperature of the room is, what do you got today? You're going to have to show up. You're going to have to compete. Like it's that fucking like junkyard mentality. It's that it's that best foot forward that you're not signing up for like a fucking little pump workout. Like I just wanted that type of like intensity in my environment. I wanted that type of edge. I wanted that type of environment, but I had to feel it first. I had to feel uncomfortable. I had to feel on the spot. I had to get talked to direct as a grown-ass man on guys I knew I couldn't fucking beat up.
Yeah.
Like, that's the worst fucking squad I ever saw in my life. Who the fuck let you in here? And you're like,
how do I respond? Yeah.
Squat again.
Yeah.
Do better. Get stronger. Like, so when you're checked like that by some, like, that was really good for me. They didn't really know I came from a hardcore blue car environment. That shit didn't fucking bother me. I just was like, all right, this is what time it is. You're going to have to fucking go to the hospital or make the next squat. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there's some places, some dark places I was willing to go because I wanted to be able to experience that. But if you don't go total immersion, you ain't getting there. But then I woke up for a meet one day and I was 239 and I thought, well, I think I'm about done with this part. I need to go to the lower weight classes. But even that, I went from that exact point of being signing up for an event. I was 239 that morning. I go to tie my shoes and my blood pressure's up. I got cellulite on my abs and on my hamstrings. And I'm like, I don't think this is me, right? And then I started thinking to myself, why can't I be this strong at 181 or 198? Now I understand everything. And I want to change some stuff. So then that's when I hooked up with Doc and Pasquale and said, what's up with this anabolic diet? You know what? When I'm going 2 low carb days and 1 high carb day, rotating with oatmeal and all this traditional bodybuilding shit, I don't really look that good. But what happens with this high fat shit? I ain't never tried that before. And then I started that, and then I immersed myself the flip side. I go from 240 to the most shredded 178 I had ever been. And then that's when the magazine shit started coming. And so it's like I immersed myself that way, and that's when everything with the company started blowing up. And at the same time, my expectation level is my company's banging, and as an athlete, I'm banging. So now I'm on the cover of the biggest magazines. I'm operating around the biggest people, and then I get a chance to meet my idol, and that's the way I'm operating. So he understands that the discipline's there. He understands the execution's there. He could feel my confidence, even though he didn't even know me before I walked in that day, but he knew me after.
Yeah, no, I believe you can feel confidence for sure. Like you can, in football, it's night and day. And like I always like the bit that like 80% of what you say, you don't say.
Like, you can feel it.
Yeah, you can feel that. And and it's the same thing, not even in conversation, but like in life, like you felt that you didn't want to be where you're going to be. Like, so like how many people are trusting their intuition to push the change or be ready and those kind of things. And that's what, again, I think the book does a great job of leading you through your story, which is incredibly powerful. And I think that's the best way to get points across, is knowing that what you lived, how you lived, and how you got out.
Yep.
And that's a question, like, how do I get out?
And have people pinpoint through the stories of what's their version of that.
Yeah.
Everyone has it, Brian. So I think when you read a book like this, and I think about when I read Think and Grow Rich, it took me a couple tries because they're teaching through stories. I try to tie it back at the end of most of these chapters, but everyone has their version. It could be worse than mine or not as bad as mine. That's irrelevant. But it's your version of that. You know exactly what you didn't want to continue.
Yeah.
You know exactly where you see yourself, or you're manifesting it now. So it's like, I think that if you can start to put yourself, after you read my craziness, each chapter, and you can put yourself in there and say, okay, how do I apply this to myself? Then you know the answer. Now, whether you act on it, that's part of the consistency part. And I'm telling you, I acted on it. I acted on it, and it fucking worked.
Yeah.
But I acted on it with a relentless pursuit, with a really strong why that I knew was going to be a lifelong thing. And so it wasn't something I could get in a month or a year or 10 years.
Yeah, it's not the quick fix or the Band-Aid. It's not that concept. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, and it's so rewarding. I can't even there's no dollar, there's no thing I could say. Like, just seeing the way that my family operates now, it literally feels like an entirely different life, which was my plan.
Yeah. and it worked out just fine. Yeah, so everybody go grab the book.
Hell yeah. How to Build Confidence and Win in Life by your boy Cory G. Amazon today. Hey, please,
May 1st.
When you buy it, you get it, review it for me, because it'll be a verified reviewer on Amazon. Here's the other thing is the audiobook is fire. So we have the Roundtable Podcast, homie Trey Speed, the Graphic Gangster, Small Arms Danny, and myself. We go deeper. We got the idea from Goggins, right? You know, I read the chapter, and then they asked me questions about it. And I got to tell you, it enhanced the audio experience tremendously.
Hell yeah.
And so I'm real proud of that. And there's all these people out here lunging a half mile every day. So that kind of makes sense with kind of how I operate anyway. But yeah, either way, both good experiences. And just chirp at me and let me know if you have any questions. I answer all my DMs. So
definitely, yeah. And then so the book leads you through his journey, his advice, his experience. It gives a recipe or protocol, whatever you want to call it. And then it ends with a little workbook phase where I think is very effective too. So definitely go check it out, support the boy, and give him a shout if you got questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again,
at Cory G Fitness on any social.
Yeah, that's my next question.
Yeah.
But as always, G, man, I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
Easy. Boom.
Chasing Edges.